Welcome to Pick Up and Deliver, the podcast where I pick up my audio recorder as I step off the train and deliver an episode to you while I walk home. I'm Brendan Riley. Well, good afternoon, listeners. It's a cloudy day here in suburban Chicago. A little bit brisk, but relatively comfortable. I've got an umbrella in case it rains, and I've got my walking shoes on. Here we go. Well, I was looking through older episodes trying to decide what I wanted to talk to you about today, and I realized I had not done a Message from the Deep episode for a while. For those of you who are relatively new to the podcast, a Message from the Deep is the sort of opposite of the Board Game Espresso. It is meant to be a longer sort of review segment about a game that I know really well. And so I was looking through the games that I've played a lot, trying to see, is there a game I should do a Message from the Deep about, or a duel. Sometimes for the duel, I will take two games that I know really well and compare them to one another to see which one I want to recommend, for example. And I didn't see any that struck me right now that I should do that. But I did find myself really interested in talking about a couple small games. So I decided to do a kind of Message from the Deep about 5 relatively simple, easy to play games that deserve a Message from the Deep episode, but I'm not really sure I have 15 minutes worth to say about any one of these. So I'm going to talk about 5 of them in shorter bursts, and you'll hear about these. So I will say all 5 of these are top recommendations from me. These are all relatively small games. None of them exceeds a half an hour. Most of them are even shorter than that are top-notch, really good games. Definitely worth playing. You should just play all 5 of these as soon as you can. But I want to talk about them a little bit and talk about why they're so good. None of these, this is not in any particular order, just kind of the order I decided on them in. Actually, it's going to be reverse order, the game that I've played the least to the game that I've played the most of these ones. So what I'm going to talk about is what the game is and why I enjoy it so much. Okay, I'm also going to talk about who designed it and all of that, but that means I have to do a little bit of work. All right, so the first game I'm going to talk about is the one I have played the least. That is Anomia. I've recorded 19 plays of that, which sounds about right. Anomia was designed by Andrew Innes and published by Anomia Press, Asmodee, Broadway Toys Limited, and a bunch of other games. I feel like right now it might be being published by the Op. I can't say for certain, but I feel like that might be the case. So Anomia is the word for feeling like you want to say something, but being unable to come up with a word for it. So A meaning not, and nomia meaning, ability to say a word, ability to think of a word. Anomia, that's what it means. It means not being able to say a word. And this is a real-time party game. You can play with up to 6 people, or I have played with more, although honestly, it's really good with 6 or fewer. If you go above 6, it gets a little tedious, or it can, because your turn, you could have a turn at any time, but your turn is really most likely when you're drawing a card, and you only draw a card once in time that goes around. So, but you have to be alert the whole time, because at any given time, you might have a turn to take. So the way the game works, it has a deck of cards. I think the smallest version you can buy has 2 different decks, a red deck and a blue deck. I have the Anomia Party Edition, which has 6 different decks. There's also Anomia X, which has 10 different decks. And the idea is that you're going to take one of these decks, shuffle them up, put it in the middle of the table. On your turn, you draw a card off the top of the deck and you put it in front of you. Now the rules say you have to draw it and reveal it away from you so you can't see it while it is being flipped onto the table, because this is a real-time game and speed matters. So when you flip the card onto the table, it's got a word on it, and that word is a category of some sort. It could be everything from a city in North America, to a magazine, to a disease, to a movie character. Who knows? Anything you can think of that's like a category that would have a bunch of answers. And you put that in front of you, and next or above that category, there's a symbol. The game has something like 8 different symbols or 10 different symbols, and they are very easy to recognize graphical icons that are things like a hashtag, some wavy lines. Think about the kind of stuff that's in Set, only there's no overlapping qualities among the different symbols, so they're very easy to distinguish between one another. So the way the game works, you draw a card, put it in front of you, and then you look at all the other cards around the table in front of other people, and if the card in front of you has the same symbol as the card in front of somebody else, you have to name something from their category before they name something from your category. It's a very simple race to do that. Whoever names something from the other person's category first wins the duel and gets to take the card that they just named from the category. And here's where the game gets spicy. Like I said, on your turn, you're going to draw a card, you're going to put it in front of you. Well, it's very common to have your turn go around. You draw a card, put it in front of you, there's no matching symbols, and then the turns go around the table and you never get a matching symbol. So you get back to yourself and you still have this card in front of you and you never match the symbol. Well, now you draw a new card and you put it on top of the card that you had before. So now you have two cards in front of you, one on top of the other. Well, so over time you can get a stack of cards in front of you, 2, 3, 4 cards. Well, if you get into a duel and you lose the duel, so someone takes the card off your stack, the next card down in the stack now becomes active. And if now the table has changed and there's someone else who has that symbol of the new card that was just revealed, you're now in a duel with them. And so what often happens is you lose a duel, you're like, someone takes your card, and then immediately someone else shouts out something and you realize you've just lost another duel you didn't even realize you were having. And the game goes like that. It is really fun, but can be very frustrating. The feeling of not being able to come up with a word is shockingly surprising and often really debilitating. Like, it'll be something where you obviously know answer, but as soon as you're under pressure to come up with an answer, you can't come up with one. It's great. Anomia is fantastic. That's a game that you should be playing if you have never tried it. Anomia. So the next small game that I wanted to mention is So Clover. So Clover is from Repost Productions. It is a party game kind of in the neighborhood of Just One and Codenames. So Clover was designed by Francois Romain and is published by Repost Productions. The way So Clover works, it is a cooperative party game where each person has a little green clover in front of them and they're going to make a word puzzle out of it. In order to solve the word puzzle, everybody has to pick 4 words that allow them to arrange these square cards that have 4 words on each card. So there's 4 cards with 4 words on each card, and you have to arrange them in the right order based on the clues that are written on this clover. As an additional complication, there is a 5th card shuffled in, so one card will not go on the clover, and so you have to figure out which card does not belong, and try to figure out which cards go where. It's really good, very fun, easy to play, hilarious. Definitely worth checking out if you get a chance. So Clover plays 1 to 6, takes about a half an hour. It's great. I love So Clover. All right, next up is a solo game. This solo game is designed by Friedemann Friese and published by Rio Grande in the United States, I believe. And that is called Friday. Friday is a solo game built around the idea of Robinson Crusoe. And the idea is that you are Robinson Crusoe's best friend and helper on the island, Friday. Crusoe at the beginning of the game is relatively weak, inexperienced, and incompetent. And the way the game works is that he has a certain amount of health, and you are helping him to defeat the challenges in the game. The game has this really simple mechanism where there's one deck of cards, and the deck of cards has a green, a yellow, and a red icon on it. And the way the game works, on the first playthrough, you face cards, and you have to deal with the green icon. On your second playthrough, you have to deal with the yellow icon, and on your third playthrough, you have to deal with the red icon. Once you get through the deck the third time, then you face one of the final challenges, which is a boatload of pirates who come to the island and try to kill you. So the thing you have to do is, when you face the challenges, you have to defeat them either by playing cards that change the score on those cards or by giving up health. When you defeat the card, you then get to take it and it goes into your deck, and it allows you to get better at defeating the other cards. I don't feel like I'm doing a great job of explaining it, except to say, I mean, there is some luck to it. You know, the randomness of cards coming out is a big part of it. But the huge element of it is deciding when to invest your resources to try to defeat a card and when to give up on defeating the card and just take the damage. As the game goes along, you're kind of mediating your damage, trying to reduce some of it or recover some health. And over time, you get stronger and stronger by defeating the difficult cards. When you get to the end, there are a number of different things you can do to make the game easier or harder. And then you have to try to defeat the pirate ship at the end. I tend to play Friday in waves. Like, I'll play it a lot for a couple months and then I'll put it away for a while. In my experience, when you've played it a few times, you tend to get pretty good at it, and I can start to beat it on, like, not only can I beat it on easy, but I'll start to beat it on normal. I think once or twice I've won on hard. I don't think I've ever won on very hard. But it is not an easy game. Like, the first couple times you play, even on easy, you won't get close to winning. Like, it's not uncommon to die before you get even through the yellow cards, much less the red cards. At least that's my experience of it. But it's incredibly self-contained. It's not that difficult to manage, and it's really good. So if you've never had a chance to try Friday, I recommend giving it a go. It's a really good airplane game. I like to play it on the travel trays on an airplane. It fits pretty nicely. Another example of a game like that is Onirim or Onirim. I would probably put it in the same category, but I like Friday a little bit better. So that's Friday by Frieden and Fries. All right, the next game that I want to introduce, a smaller game that just knocks it out of the park, and a game that I've played many, many times, is Dead Man's Draw. Dead Man's Draw is a card-based push your luck game. Now, the version of it that I have is old. It's sort of the original version, the original game of Dead Man's Draw. They have published a slightly newer version now, which is the only version you'd be able to find. In fact, when I look at Board Game Geek, the cover that's in there, it says Captain Carcass, Dead Man's Draw. So I don't know if they're planned on making another one or not, but this is the one I played. Dead Man's Draw was published by, or was designed by, it is not credited as a designer, no wonder. It's published, it's got a lot of different publishers, but the current publisher is Bombix, I believe. And like I said, uncredited, which is wild to me. In Dead Man's Draw, because I think it's based on an app, actually. Maybe that's why it's uncredited. In Dead Man's Draw, there's a deck of cards that's full of cards of different suits. I think there's 8 or 10 different suits. There's 10. And each suit does something different when one of the cards comes out. So if you get a sword, you then get to steal a card from another player. If you get a cannon, you blow up a card from another player, meaning you take it out of the game, but you don't get to steal it. And so on. Each different icon lets you do a different thing. Your goal in the game is to score as many points as you can, and you score for each suit, you score as many points as the highest value card you have of that suit. The way you get to keep the cards is on your turn, you draw a card from the deck, you put it in a line. You do the thing that the card lets you do, the action, then you can either stop or continue. If you stop, you take the card and all the other cards that are in the line and add them to your display. Any cards that you have that are the same suit as another card, they go above or below the card of that suit, such that the highest card in the suit is on the top of the deck. So if you have the 3 of cannons and the 6 of cannons, you put the 3 down and then the 6 on top of it. At the end of the game, you'll score the 6 cannon and 6 points, unless the 6 cannon is removed in some way, in which case then you score the 3 cannon and 3 points. If you choose to press your luck to keep going, each time a new card comes out, you get to do the action associated with that card. But if you ever draw a second card of the same suit of one of the suits you already have out in the line, you bust and you get to take nothing. That's a pretty simple mechanism. There's a lot of nuance in the cards, and the game also comes with some character cards and some like random power cards, and we use both of those as well because it adds a lot of variety to the game. Makes it really fun. It's a simple game that you can play while you're chit-chatting with people. Really only the person whose turn it is has to do very much. You're taking cards, you're announcing what you're doing. It's pretty simple, but it's really fun. Like, it's just the right amount of push your luck, the right amount of randomness, and you get several bites at the apple because each time you go around, you get to try again. I really, really like Dead Man's Draw, and if you get a chance to play it, you definitely should. So my number 4 small game that you should try is Dead Man's Draw. The last game I want to mention is also a push your luck game, and this is one of my favorite push your luck games of all time. I put it in the category of amazing games that everyone should play at some point. This is Incan Gold. Incan Gold was designed by Bruno Faidutti and Alan R. Moon. It was originally published as Diamant, but most recently has been published by Eagle Gryphon Games, and the name is Incan Gold. It's a very simple premise. Everybody is you're on a journey into an Incan temple to find artifacts and gold. The way that each player starts off in the journey together, and we reveal cards that reveal different amounts of gold, and you get to take your share of that gold and put it in your pile. If you decide to leave, but if there's any left over, it stays on the trail. So let's say you have 4 people and you reveal 5 gold, each person gets 1 gold, and the remaining 1 gold stays on the trail. Then everybody chooses, do they want to stay or go? If on the next round, 3 of the 4 people stay, the person who decides to go gets to pick up that gold on their way out. And if they're by themselves, they pick up all the gold. Now, if there are 2 people leaving at once, they divide the gold evenly, and any that's left gets left on the trail. So there's an interesting mechanism where there's push your luck, but there's also reading the other players and trying to leave at the time that optimizes how much gold you get. And then the other piece of the puzzle is that there's these treasures, and when a treasure comes out, it's worth a lot of gold, but it's not divisible. So you only get it if you're the one who leaves by yourself, then you get to grab the treasure on the way out. And finally, there are a number of different threats in the deck. At the beginning of the game, each threat has 3 copies of the card in the deck, and on your turn, you're going to reveal a card. If it's a threat, no problem, we keep going. You can keep going or you can turn around. Because if we ever get a second of the same threat, then the round is over and anyone who's still in the temple loses all the gold they've collected. That's the whole thing. You play 5 rounds, you're trying to collect as much gold as you can and get out before the threat gets you each round. At the end of the game, the person who has the most gold wins. Incan Gold is like the perfect push your luck game. It is really fun. It's easy to play. It's dramatic and exciting. It plays 8, so it works really well with larger groups, and I play it every chance I get. You should definitely play Incan Gold if you get a chance. It is excellent. Well, that ends my list of 5 small games that are all fantastic. I'd love to hear your list of small games that are fantastic. Which ones would you add to this list? Which games do you think I should add next time I do one? Should I do a second round of these with 5 more? I want to hear from you. Head over to Board Game Geek Guild 3269 and share your thoughts there, or send me a message, wombat929 on Board Game Geek, or brendan@rattleboxgames.com. Thanks for joining me on my walk today. I hope your next walk is as pleasant as mine was. Bye-bye.
Brought to you by Rattlebox Games.